Dams illustrate the brilliance and the arrogance of human ingenuity. They generate 1/6 of the world's electricity and irrigate 1/7 of our food crops. They've flooded land area the size of California, displaced a population the size of Germany's, and turned fresh water into the ecosystems most threatened by species extinction. In this video, let's look at the top 10 massive dam failures that ever happened. And before we get into the video, hit the subscribe button and bell icon for instant updates. At number 10, the 1923 Gleno Dam Break. The Gleno Dam was a multiple arch buttress dam on the Gleno Creek in the Valle di Scalvi, northern province of Bergamo, Italy. The dam was proposed and constructed by the Vajont Company. A request to construct it was submitted in 1907 and construction began in 1916. By January 1923, the dam was 80% complete. At 6:30 a.m. on December 1st, 1923, a buttress on the dam cracked and subsequently failed. Within minutes, an estimated 4,500,000 cubic meters of water gushed from the reservoir at an elevation of 1,535 meters to the valley below. The following villages were flooded: Dezo, Azzone, Colera, and Corna di Darfo. The floodwaters stopped when they reached Lake Iseo. Nearly 356 people died in this disaster. At number 9, the 1959 Malpasset Dam. Malpasset Dam was a concrete arch dam located on the Riviera in the Cons district near Fréjus in southern France. Exhibiting curvature in both the plan and section directions, the double curvature arch structure spanned the Réron River. At the time of completion in 1954, it was reported as the thinnest arch dam of its height of 218 feet, with a maximum thickness of 22.2 feet. Construction of the dam began in 1952, and the first filling of the reservoir began on April 20th in 1954. Approximately 5 years later, when the first filling was nearly complete, Malpasset Dam failed on December 2nd in 1959 after the area experienced several days of heavy rain and high winds. The sudden failure of the dam resulted in the death of 421 people when emergency rescue attempts were thwarted due to the inaccessibility of the town's flooded roadways and access routes. Number 8. 1928 St. Francis Dam. St. Francis Dam is located in Los Angeles, California, United States. The dam was designed and built between 1924 and 1926 by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, then named the Bureau of Waterworks and Supply. The department was under the direction of its general manager and chief engineer, William Mulholland. The catastrophic dam failure in California on March 12, 1928 was one of the worst civil engineering failures in American history. The ensuing flood killed hundreds and swept away thousands of acres of fertile land. The dam's purpose was to provide a reservoir for the Los Angeles Owens River Aqueduct. Several cracks and leaks were observed in the dam and its abutments, but Mulholland dismissed these as normal. And after the reservoir was filled up to its capacity for the first time on March 7, 1928, he inspected the dam and proclaimed it safe. Estimates are that over 600 people were killed that night when a wall of water containing over 12 billion gallons of water swept down San Francisco Canyon out to the Santa Clara River and ended up at the Pacific Ocean at 5:30 a.m. Just 5.5 hours later, it had traveled over 50 miles and taken everyone and everything in its path with it. Bodies of its victims were found as far south as San Diego. Many of the victims were never found at all. For the number of lives lost in California historical disasters, it's only second to the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and fire, where estimates are over 3,000 people lost their lives. Number 7. 1961 Panshet Dam Failure. Panshet Dam, also called Tanajasigar Dam, is a dam on the Ambi River about 50 kilometers southwest of the city Pune in western India. Half a century ago, the new under-construction Panshet Dam had started developing some problems even before it's complete. Against some recommendations, the dam was being filled up during the 1961 monsoon season. Cracks started developing, and yet there was a lot of debate on whether the dam was in real imminent danger. When the authorities were questioned, the reply was intriguing. Ideally, the arch of the conduit should have been made from RCC. However, in those days, steel was in short supply, and we were forced to use concrete blocks instead. And the force of the water was so great that it managed to dislodge the concrete blocks, which resulted in the eastern portion of the dam giving way. If RCC had been used, the accident would certainly have been averted. At least 1,000 people lost their lives in the disaster, and the dam was later rebuilt. Number 6. 1943 Möhne Reservoir Failure. This Möhne Reservoir was created by damming two rivers, the Hive and Möhne. The reservoir is located in the North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany. The Möhne Dam in Germany's Ruhr Valley secured the water supply for much of the surrounding area. Water from its reservoir was also used to generate electricity. It was thought that the direction of this dam and others in the region would cause massive disruption to German war production. Plans for an attack on the dam had first been considered in 1937, but it took until 1942 to develop a weapon capable of destroying the dam, and the aircraft to deliver it. The protective nets hanging on the water were unable to stop the bombs. A massive hole was created on the dam that allowed water to spill over and flood large areas around the dam. At least 1,579 people lost their lives in this human-induced disaster. Of those who died, 1,026 people were foreign laborers who were forced to work in Germany and lived in camps near the dam. Number 5. 1967 Sempor Dam Failure. Sempor Dam is an embankment dam on the Sempor River in the district of Gombong Kebumen, Central Java Province, Republic of Indonesia. In addition to being a tourist attraction, Sempor Dam is a source of irrigation water for farmers. It helps irrigate thousands of paddy fields in the delta, and it also provides for flood control and has a 1-megawatt hydroelectric power station at its base. Construction on the dam started in 1967, but in the same year, water from flash floods overtopped it, causing the dam to fail on November 29, 1967. The wave of water killed 160 people in 3 towns, including Magellan, and delivered widespread damage to the area. Number 4. The 1963 Vajont Dam Failure. The Vajont Reservoir disaster is the consequence of the failure of engineers and geologists to understand the nature of the problem that they were trying to deal with. When built, it was the tallest dam of its kind in the world, harnessing the waters of a small mountain torrent to create a lake meant to generate hydroelectric power for northern Italy's post-war economic miracle. But authorities ignored the warnings of locals that the land was unstable and that their work had triggered a worrying seismic movement. During the filling of the reservoir, a block of approximately 270 million cubic meters detached from one wall and skidded into the lake at velocities up to 30 meters a second, approximately 110 kilometers an hour. As a result, a wave overtopped the dam by 250 meters and swept onto the valley below, with the loss of about 2,500 lives. Remarkably, the dam remained unbroken by the flood. The enormous wave caused flash flooding in the Piave Valley below the dam and destroyed the villages of Lagorone, Parago, Rivalta, Villanova, and Faei. The crushing wall of water created an air pocket when it hit the ground, which was more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. It was so strong that victims are reported to have been found naked, their clothes blown off by the exploding air. Number 3. The 1889 South Fork Dam Failure. The South Fork Dam was built on the artificially created Lake Conemaugh in Pennsylvania in the U.S. between 1838 and 1853. Its failure caused the Jonestown floods. Some of these floods were caused when heavy snow melted too quickly in the spring, and others at any season of the year when heavy rain fell over the area. Whichever, floods were a fact of life to the 19th century residents of this industrial community in the southwestern Pennsylvania. Bodies were found far away as Cincinnati and as late as 1911. The distance between the dam that failed and Jonestown was 14 miles. The dam contained 20 million tons of water before it gave way, about the same amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls in 36 minutes. Flood lines were found as high as 89 feet above the river level. The Great Wave measured 35 to 40 feet high and hit Jonestown at 40 miles per hour. The American Red Cross, led by Clara Barton and organized in 1881, arrived in Jonestown on June 5, 1889. It was the first major peacetime disaster relief effort for the Red Cross. This flooding resulted in the deaths of 2,209 people and the loss of 1,600 homes and over $17 million in property damage. Number 2. The 1979 Machchhu Dam Failure. The Machchhu Dam Failure or Morbi disaster was a dam-related flood disaster which occurred on the 11th of August in 1979 in India. The Machchhu Dam, situated on the Machchhu River, burst, sending a wall of water through the town of Morbi of Gujarat, India. India estimates that the number of people killed vary greatly, ranging from 1,800 to 250,000 people. The Morbi disaster is as much the result of a freak rainfall as of the total administrative failure to either predict or cope with the catastrophe when it occurred. A lesser publicized highlight of the situation was the Morbi administration was not aware that Machchhu had half collapsed until 15 hours after it had, at about 3 p.m. on August the 11th. Until then, it had presumed that the water flooding the city was a result of the river overflowing. It was nearly 24 hours after the dam burst that the news was broadcast on the radio. on the afternoon of August the 12th, and by then the stricken city was unapproachable for anyone, including the irrigation minister and senior engineers from Machchhu. And at number 1, the 1975 Banqiao Reservoir Dam Failure. The Banqiao Reservoir Dam, which was built with the guidance of experts from the Soviet Union, is a dam on the River Ru, a tributary of the Hong River in the Zhoumanian city, China. Shen Jing, a hydrologist involved in the project, was concerned that the dam would dangerously raise the water tables and lead to disaster. He was roundly dismissed as a right-wing opportunist by the Communist Chinese government. The rains began on August the 5th in 1975. The rainfall from that one day exceeded the yearly average, and by this time the dam's capacity was nearly full and it was almost flooding in the valley. The workers were instructed not to release more water. But the following day, communication lines went down, leaving the workers to take the crisis into their own hands. Shortly after midnight, the water rose just over a foot above the dam's crest, and moments later, they heard a terrible noise. It sounded like the sky was collapsing and the earth was cracking. Then the water appeared to retreat. Banqiao's bursting set off a domino effect, sending water rushing through dozens of dams downstream. And by the time the night was over, 62 dams had burst and 26,000 people drowned. What can we say, but science doesn't care about any of our politics, so it's probably time to listen to scientists and engineers a little more. And if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and let us know your views in the comments section below. And I'll see you in our next video.